Yo, what's going on everyone? Welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're talking about Boruto Uzumaki, Young Lord, the son of the 7th Hokage. Whatever you want to call him, he's a controversial character. He is someone that will always receive an incredible amount of hate. And part of me does kind of understand why this is the case. The hatred for Boruto stems from two things. Firstly, him and Naruto don't really, or at least didn't get along during Boruto's initial debut on the big screen during the Boruto film. And then secondly, he's not Naruto. I know it may sound completely ridiculous to you that a character is hated because he's not like the character that came before him. However, anybody who's been around the community long enough will tell you that that is genuinely the case. Now, like I said, I know, I understand these points, or at least I do a little bit anyway, even if I don't really agree with them all that much myself. So today I want to explain why these people aren't inherently wrong. I mean, you can't be wrong really, it's a subjective opinion, like there's no objective right or wrong answer when it comes to liking or disliking a character. But I'm also going to explain my perspective on Boruto and why I think some people are missing something when it comes to his character. So firstly, I'm going to explain why Boruto isn't Naruto and why they are seemingly so different from each other, and how this also links into the other reason as to why Boruto is so hated, as I believe that they are both intrinsically linked together. Naruto was an inspiration. He was born into a world which hated him from the very beginning. His parents sacrificed themselves so that he could live, even if this did result in a terrible upbringing of being alone as he had lost everything. But we saw his rise, we saw his dreams, and it was nothing short of beautiful watching as Naruto took himself from being what was viewed as the lowest of low in society, living in a war-torn era, to saving those that looked down upon him by stepping up as the village's saviour, taking it a step forward, ushering in a new era of peace and prosperity, bringing others together, saving the world whilst also experiencing hardship along the way, such as losing those he loved and watching his greatest ally sink into darkness. Despite all of this, Naruto never gave up. He was mature enough to understand that others would have let the anger and hatred consume them, as he had seen it all before. But this understanding and maturity is what led to him making the difference. And throughout a 15-year journey, nearly 300 hours of content, we saw all of this unfold in front of our very eyes. However, Boruto did not. Boruto was born after Naruto had already seemingly defeated all of his hardships. By the time Boruto came into existence, Naruto was already Hokage, had a loving family, and was loved by all. And thus Boruto had only ever seen the good side of his father and lived a luxury lifestyle. This is where the two of them differ. This is why Boruto is so hated. He's labelled by many as a brat, and in all honesty, that is true. Boruto is a spoiled brat, but you see, that's the whole point. Boruto's entire character arc was that he was someone who didn't understand what his father had gone through. During their younger years, Boruto and Naruto clearly had a good relationship. We've seen them playing together and having fun together, but at some point Naruto became too busy for his son. And that's when Naruto and Boruto's relationship clearly changed. You see, many people claim that Boruto hated his dad, but that's just completely not the case. During the events of the movie, and later the anime and manga, Boruto and his father clearly didn't get along. But in reality, it was more so the fact that they just didn't understand each other. And that is because of both parties. Like we mentioned earlier, Boruto didn't know what Naruto had gone through. But at the same time, Naruto doesn't understand what Boruto's going through, because he never really experienced parenthood. And so neither of them can relate to one another. Naruto grew up alone, and because of this, he didn't want anyone to be the same as him. And so that's why he became Hokage. He used his immense talent and power to make a change in the world. However, what he was yet to learn was that this doesn't apply to everything in life. Although he claims that the entire village is his family, the role of Hokage and the role of parent are not the same. And this was made clear during one particular scene. You see, Boruto, although he may be viewed as a bratty son, is a great brother. He loves his sister to pieces and will do absolutely everything he can to make her happy. And so he confronts his father to ensure that he will not forget his own daughter's birthday and that he will be there or else. And then the day rolls around. The family are together having a birthday party for Himawari, and as Naruto carries through the cake, poof! It's revealed that it was a shadow clone all along. This is Naruto not understanding the two different roles of parent and Hokage. His role of being Hokage came because he cared for others, that is true. However, his way of showing this care for them was through battle and jutsu. Him defeating Pain and saving Konoha was the catalyst for him to become that leader, with him defeating Kaguya and bringing back Sasuke to the good side as the cherry on top. But you see, this was all made possible because of his jutsu. Without it, Pain would have destroyed Konoha, Kaguya would have had her way, and Sasuke would have become the enemy of the world. Yet through combat and love, Naruto changed that. However, being a parent is something jutsu can't help with. But he doesn't understand this because he's never experienced what having a parent is really like. I personally love this about him. I think it's a flaw in his character. Whether or not you think it's out of character is up to you. However, I think that having a flaw, even this late on in his character's journey, makes him better for it. And whilst Boruto isn't an outcast or a peasant or treated poorly by society like many shonen protagonists, and is instead a prodigy living in a peaceful time, he is still flawed. Because of his seemingly easy life, Boruto thought that he could do anything. This was seen in his fight against White Zetsu. You see, the entirety of New Team 7 faced down a large White Zetsu. Konohamaru explains how this is like nothing they would have ever faced before, and it's way above their level, and it's best that they weren't involved. However, together they put in place a strategy to defeat it without any casualties, with Boruto's role importantly being to act as a distraction, giving Konohamaru the chance to defeat it. But Boruto, being the young lord of Konoha, overestimates his own ability, and thus he disobeys the orders of his sensei, trying to take all the glory for himself. And this results in him almost being killed. It acts as a moment of realisation for his character, and it was a reality check for him. Growing up during an era of peace like he had done and being born with a silver spoon in his mouth gave him unreal expectations of what he was capable of. You could say that he never really had a proper taste of the real world. He thought that he could do anything easily. However, he now realises that he actually won't be able to change a thing the way he currently is. This is the polar opposite of Naruto. Like I said, Naruto grew up without a family and relied too much on his jutsu, but Boruto relies too much on his familial connections. He thought that by just being the young lord of Konoha, he would be able to achieve anything, and this is what makes him use the infamous ninja tool during the Chunin exams, leading him to cheat, which is the other key moment that Boruto as a character is hated for. But as I mentioned, I think it actually fits the narrative of the story that was being told. Boruto realising that he needs to be stronger causes him to try and prove to his father that he can be, and that he has what it takes. You see, Naruto was often doubtful towards his son. Even when Boruto awakened his Jogan and thus thought he had awakened his Byakugan, Naruto didn't believe him. And it's because of moments like these that Boruto became insecure, which is why when after his fight against Shikadai in the Chunin exams and Naruto praises him, Boruto decides to use the ninja tool again in the final round, because he was chasing that praise from Naruto again out of love. Him getting his father's seal of approval is what he wants, because he knows that by doing that, not only would Naruto look at him differently, but it would also be that inspiration that he needed to continue growing stronger, ensuring that situations like the White Zetsu one don't happen again. In the end, Boruto tried fixing a mistake of his by making another mistake. Boruto is the example that two wrongs don't make a right. And that's what I loved about his character. It felt different. It felt real. As much as it is great to watch an inspiring story like Naruto's, there's also something about watching a character's downfall through their own mistakes which is also so great to see. It makes for an interesting character. And I actually think it was quite brave of Kishimoto to make this creative decision in the first place. It was obvious from Kishimoto's other series, Samurai 8, that he always liked the idea of writing a story about a bratty son who didn't show enough respect towards his father, as that was the case with Hachimaru, and I respect that decision. Although I do personally think that Boruto's character has stagnated a little, that's not down to the character writing but more so down to the series production. The pacing of Boruto is just too slow nowadays, and thus makes Boruto feel stagnant over an extended period of time. And then there's also Kawaki, who is clearly the favoured character if you go by the common consensus, probably due to his similarities with Naruto, as like I said, that's one of the reasons Boruto as a character was so disliked in the first place, whereas Kawaki is quite similar, but in a good way. But hopefully one day we see this father and son dynamic flourish even more than it already has done, as I can't help but think that, at least in the manga, that it's actually began to regress, such as when Naruto chose to ignore what Boruto had to say about the situation with Kawaki in the more recent chapters, which just reminded me more about the Byakugan situation which I mentioned earlier. That being said, hopefully the anime continues to make the changes it has done to the manga with that scenario too, and keep it more in line with the development that the two of them have already been through, because it's far too beautiful to go to waste.